Hello. Hello to everyone. Hello again. Yes, I will be introducing Yen properly after the slide deck, but if I now use maybe 8 to 10 minutes to go through what impact findings and learnings over the years kind of about the resource raising, and we have been building this kind of a model that we hope that would help all the VCSCs to think about resource raising strategically and kind of find the resources what they need from the sources that they are most likely to get them. Yeah, I will be sharing my screen now, so if you could let me know whether you see my screen. Yen, could you say, do you see my slide?
Yes, I can see your slide. Yes, I can see your slide.
Okay, great. Fantastic. All right. So yes, of course, resource raising comes from fundraising, and kind of if we consider now VCSCs building partnerships with companies and other supporters, what are the resources that you would need? And we've been going through these in kind of from the public sector procurement and related social value point of view, but of course this applies for very many other kind of partnerships as well. So money, volunteering skills, products, and services. And by services, we mean like contractual kind of agreements with the £0 contract, but with those, let's say, companies providing you free services, they would be delivering that with all these kind of quality assurance and liability insurance kind of way. So you wouldn't have to take that kind of a risk that it would be delivered to you voluntarily. And as if somebody is volunteering, you cannot kind of put them liable for the kind of the quality of the end result. So that's why it's very important to kind of differentiate these two. But this is an image what I'd like to demonstrate, and I've been presenting the same image in various procurement conferences. And in those instances, there has been a few VCSs present, but mainly private sector companies. But I want to now present this to you from your point of view, like a VCSC point of view. So when you kind of start partnering with companies, there might be a little bit different kind of style and kind of motivation for them to partner with you, whether they are doing this for the kind of corporate social responsibility purposes, building their ESG strategy and so forth, or whether they are then finding these delivery partners, social value delivery partners for public sector contracts. And the motivation behind these aspects differ a little bit, because the CSR is this kind of like a brand building, company mission driven, longer term strategy where they are aligning their own mission with the mission of other kind of charitable organizations and leaving a legacy. And these kind of strategies might be kind of covering several years. And also the motivation is to engage with employees. There is a talent acquisition kind of motivation and stuff. So then also kind of volunteering activities are stemming from the kind of employee engagement point of view. If you then partner with organizations from the public sector procurement and contractual obligation point of view, the pace of these partnerships might be quite different. Of course, if you're working with, let's say, tier 1, tier 2, contractors who are running big programs, they might be worth tens or hundreds of millions, and they're looking for partnerships. Yes, there will be strategic partnership opportunities which are lasting for years, and they kind of are a little bit similar to CSR activities. But there is still the kind of the contractual kind of restrictions and obligations, which means that it might be that there is very restrictive area where the impact has to take place. So you would be then needing to kind of evidence that, for instance, your beneficiaries are all located and living in certain county area, for instance. There might be contractual time frame, which might be sometimes very short as well. It might be a half-year contract, 1-year contract. So whatever you are doing has to be fitting into that contract period. Also, we were just hearing earlier today about, for instance, TOM measures and different kind of social value criteria. So if a company has made obligation and bid in the bidding stage that they would be, let's say, doing school visits or work placements or whatever they've been doing, they then need to do exactly that. So then it's not up to their employees to choose what they want to do. It's more of that where the company wants their volunteers to take part in, and they need to then find these opportunities. We obviously at What Impact advise companies always to have a proper plan in place before making any promises in the bidding stage, and hence the whole platform has been built to kind of cater these partnerships, because it can be sometimes very stressful, not only for the company, but the VCSEs as well, when there is such a big hurry, suddenly find partners and maybe even halfway the contract when they are kind of like lacking KPIs or something, contacting then charities and wondering why nobody's picking up a phone or something, when they want to start volunteering and so forth. So there might be a very different pace. And I think it's important for VCSEs to kind of think that what are your conditions in these scenarios. They were also mentioning, like Victoria from Recycling Lives was saying that, mentioning a little bit that sometimes they feel that they've been used as almost like a bid candy and not respected in that manner. And yeah, that might be the case. So I think it's good to kind of consider that what are your conditions for collaboration, and make it also quite clear in your own communications and channels, whether it's website or like our platform or everywhere, that what is kind of your response times and what are you looking for, not just then be subject to random, kind of contacts and offers. So this is something what I kind of wanted to say. But as already stated many times, public sector procurement related social value partnerships can provide a lot of new resources that you didn't get access to before. And this comes from the fact that organizations have to deliver that additionality in certain areas, like it might be geographical area, and then it gives you an opportunity maybe to scale to another area or create a new project to the area that you already work for, just because there is some larger contract happening, and that's kind of a very important kind of opportunity to kind of grasp. So we wanted to then kind of put together this resource raising wheel for the fact that we demonstrate also that that organizations, VCSEs, shouldn't now kind of then forget that these other resource sources, so to speak, that they've been usually looking for resources from. Because I have marked down here in this kind of the whole kind of resource raising environment, that basically this orange little thing here in the middle, this kind of little circle here, is kind of what public sector procurement related social value can offer. And there are still like so many different other resource raising opportunities. And hence, we have kind of created this kind of a model, which we hope that is at least a little bit useful for some of you. And it consists of different kind of layers. And if you consider every single layer to be able to move like a different direction, either anti-clockwise or clockwise, and you move different layers, and then you start looking into certain wedges, there might be like ideas coming to you and saying that, okay, if we are creating this kind of a project and the costs and resource needs are certain types, where could we technically the best could find resources for this? And what I'm saying that, as an example, and this is not so black and white at all, but when we hear sometimes that, let's say construction company has a let's say, some quite short project, like in contractual obligation, and then they are giving, like, let's say, food bank donations and for a food bank. And that's, of course, fantastic. But if the food bank wants to sustain, this kind of constant flow of different kind of food products, maybe it is better to try at least to find, let's say, retailers or other sources who could kind of naturally provide those products to you in a longer period of time, and maybe then think about how the construction company could maybe provide something which is inherently what they have, and doesn't have to be always the construction work, but it can be like some skills, or maybe they can fund some other things or something, rather than then buying food for the food bank from the construction kind of budget. So this is just like an example. And I will go through now the layers and kind of thinking about this strategic resourcing in the middle. Of course, everything stems from your own theory of change and your mission and what kind of projects and outcomes you are trying to achieve. And then when you're thinking about kind of resource raising, you have to also think about the risks that you have to mitigate. How do you sustain your organization in the long run, and then kind of think about that how your organization can grow and move forward with government, whether it's central and local government priorities, because they are also defining kind of what kind of activities are being kind of supported or requested. And then on the outer layer, we have kind of the whole kind of world affecting your operations, and there are various kind of things kind of that will kind of on the other hand kind of affect kind of what you are as a one organization doing. And when you then kind of, with these two aspects, which are coming from the center and the outer layer, start thinking about that, okay, these are the projects that we are actually running, or this is the operations what we're running and whatnot, then kind of how to define what kind of cost types you have and resource needs. So what are the core costs, program costs? This is, of course, very familiar for many of you, because many times grants particularly are very kind of specific for certain cost types, but also kind of thinking about the research development, monitoring, evaluation costs. What about if you wish to scale? What could be potential for you scaling some fantastic, kind of intervention method which has a proven impact, and you could kind of think about how to scale that, with and what resources you need in order to kind of double or triple your operational, capacity. So just kind of thinking about the cost and cost structure, because different costs might be funded from different sources. Then sometimes there are a lot of costs, but some of the costs could be covered by getting that cost worth of resources for free. Like I mentioned, service packages. So if you have IT services, cleaning services, legal services given for you for free, and they are high quality contractual obligation, it literally saves that much money that you would be paying for them otherwise. Then you don't have to look for the, let's say, grant funding or corporate funding to cover those costs. Of course, this requires contacts and so forth, but who would be likely to kind of fund these or providing this kind of a service that is covering certain costs? And that's kind of the same with skills-based volunteering, and then kind of thinking about the trustees and governance support in order to kind of keep your operations sustained and enable the growth and so forth. Then we come to the timeline. And because there are so many different resources that can be obtained in different kind of time frame. And as I mentioned, the social value public sector procurement will be contractual obligations. So then if you're looking for longer term kind of funding or resource for something, let's say it has to be minimum 2 years or 3 years, you would need to either look for one of the longer term contracts, like a high value contracts, to get that kind of a contribution, or then you have to move towards the grant funding, for instance, in that scenario, if that kind of like a longer term contractual supply chain partnerships is not possible. Then there are, of course, seasonal, all kind of funding available, cyclical, for instance. There might be certain fundraising events happening, or like we know that in certain times of the year, there are a lot of marathons being run, and the public is actually funding your operations. So there are very different type of time frame for getting that funding. And then we come to the actual resource ecosystem where the funding comes from. And it can be coming from public sector, private sector, third sector itself, or then general public. And there will be then lots of different opportunities here. So by this image and this kind of model, we wanted to just present kind of the broad spectrum of resource raising, and we hope that when we actually get this kind of written into this kind of resource raising, like a little kind of a brochure, or I'm not calling it the white paper, but it will be some kind of a guidance. If there are any VCSEs who would like to join this project, kind of polishing this model, what we have as What Impact created, and also maybe contribute to this written document, which then could be helping the sector to kind of more strategically thinking about that, how they can sustainably fund and get resource for their operations, that there wouldn't be constantly that kind of a fear of going under, or this kind of a stress around the resources, kind of getting enough resources. So this is kind of what I wanted to present at this stage. And now Yen Tan, who is a very experienced operations director from Voluntary Support North West. If Yen, you would like to introduce yourself, and I have a million questions for you.
Thanks, Tiia.
So please introduce yourself first.
My name is Tiia Sammallahti. I'm the Operation Director of Voluntary Sector Northwest. So we are a charity, and then we're connecting charity across the Northwest.
Yeah. So you help VCSEs in various ways, like all CVS organizations do. It can be from creating some kind of a constitution for non-registered community, or helping with the grant funding application and anything between. What are the biggest challenges at the moment you think VCSEs face? What is the most common kind of advice request that you are getting?
I think this is a very important question, and I think it reflects the reality many organizations in this room are experiencing. One of the biggest challenges facing VCFSE organization today is balancing the growing community needs with an increasingly squeezed funding environment. And then NCVO recently described 2025 as the year of the big squeeze. But in reality, this has also become the standard operations context for our sector. Funders are under pressure as well, donations are stretched, and many organizations delivering public services are operating at a loss. And at the same time, costs are rising sharply. And then from May this year, real living wage will increase by 6.7% plus on costs, which we welcome because we all want to be good employers. Too often, contracts do not keep up with the inflation or reflect the fair pay. So yet some contracts are seeing very, very small uplift. So many of you will agree with that. In one recent example that I heard, the uplift of a VCFSE contract was just 0.03%. That is about £30 on a £100,000 contract. So this is indeed very challenging for that particular charity. And alongside this financial pressure, and I think the sector is also facing a significant system change with a very limited clarity. We are seeing the largest NHS restructuring since 2012, and many organizations are asking where VCFSE sector will sit in the future health system. And at the same time, we are also facing the UK Share Prosperity Fund ending.
Yeah.
There are still many unanswered questions about what replaces it and what that means for employment and skill program that many voluntary organizations delivering.
Yeah.
So on top of that, delay in commissioning and funding decision leave service hanging in the balance. So the result is uncertainty for staff and risk for community that rely on support. And then despite all the pressure, I still want to say I'm really proud of my colleagues in the sector. They have shown remarkable resilience. And then during COVID time, we saw organizations adapt rapidly to support communities through food provision, welfare support, and well-being service. What that period demonstrated is that VCFSE sector is often the first responder within communities, able to build trust and reach people quickly and able to reach those very hard to reach community. So going back to your questions, I think there are a few things quite important that we can look into. One is the stronger collaboration across the sector. So I share in the Northwest, we see the value of partnerships such as the
Mhm.
VS6 partnership in Liverpool City regions, the Greater Manchester VCFSE Leadership Group, and the Cheshire Warrington Infrastructure Partnership. And these help organizations share intelligence and share their view and also influence regional system. Secondly, is building financial resilience. You mentioned in your slide as well, like company need to look into their cash flow and all sorts of things, and then we need to have stronger cash flow planning and more diversified income. And third is improving fair funding practice. This is an area that I'm currently working on as well. So initiatives such as the Greater Manchester Fair Funding Protocol and the emerging Northwest Fair Funding Principle that I'm currently working on with my colleagues. The aim is to partner with VCFSE leaders to get funders and commissioners to sign up and embed this principle, making fair funding the norm rather than the exceptions. So recognizing on cost and considering full recovery as much as possible is essential. And then fair funding should also include long-term fund and full cost recovery rather than organization having to subsidize service and costs from their unrestricted fund. Even today, we continue to see some funders who are willing to fund project staff, but not the associate overhead and operation costs. As Saksia from NCVO mentioned this morning, many charities end up using unrestricted funding to cover service that should have already been properly funded. Therefore, I think addressing that issue is essential.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Since Alistair is not here today, I wanted to just mention kind of almost on his behalf, because I've been
Mm.
working with Alistair almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So Alistair is a Newport City Council Economic Development Director and has been in charge for millions and millions of SPF funding. And we've been distributing these VCSE funds now almost worth 2 million so far. And now we start a totally different funding scheme, which is kind of from the council taxpayers' money, not from the central government, which is the poverty related. And I guess what we have at least found kind of useful in this SPF funding has been that it hasn't been only for the well, it's kind of for the project costs, but they cover also salaries of people if they are kind of working for the project. So even though somebody would be like a CEO full time, if they are working for the project, you can still kind of claim some
That's good
money
to
for
know.
that, if they are working for the project. So
Definitely.
yeah, so that's a good one. But yes, I can see that sometimes in this kind of like a project funding, there is a constant look for new ideas, isn't it? And which is great because new initiatives can be found, but also then if you have a very proven intervention method that has proven impact, where do they get their funding? Because they would need to reinvent themselves constantly, and if they already have something in place. So I guess what came to my mind was kind of when I was hearing about Karen and Annie about the tech and about these other kind of speakers about collaboration, for instance, like Richard Carroll from Durham and these charities, is that basically I'm not saying that package something in a new way, but every project obviously has to evolve somehow, and even because the tech is evolving quite a lot, maybe the same intervention will be provided a little bit differently because of the technology changes, how people are operating, like we know in a couple of years, things change, whether something was in person or online, and AI and all these kind of things will be affecting. So maybe, kind of trying to see these existing interventions that are very impactful and proven impact, which VCSEs have been measuring, and they can always prove, they can still kind of develop them a little bit further and kind of like reinvent the wheel in a good way, and kind of present then something like a new in that, and also then kind of justify that, the project cost if there is this kind of innovation angle required. But what would you say then, kind of if we talk about now the private sector and VCSE partnerships, what do you see in your area? Is this somehow compensating maybe the diminishing grant funding, or can it?
I don't know. This is a really good question, but I do see the potential of benefit that's definitely can bring between collaboration between private company and also VCFSE organization. So I think this partnership can come through a range of routes, including the corporate social responsibility program and social value commitment linked to procurement and long-term strategic collaboration. So when these relationships are built well, I think they can be incredibly powerful, particularly when they move beyond one-off project or donation toward share purpose and share impact.
Yeah.
So voluntary organization, they bring very deep community knowledge and trusted relationship. And businesses always be able to bring in resource, skill, and scale. So when those two strengths aligned, partnership can deliver a very meaningful outcome. So I can share an example that I have been involved in a campaign called Be Seen, Get Screened campaign. It's part of the Answer Cancer program is in Greater Manchester that I'm working on. So the campaign encouraged employer to allow time off or flexible working to their employee to attend NHS cancer screening appointment, because we believe early detection saves life.
Yeah.
And then through this work, a wide range of employers, including a lot of private organizations, have signed up to the pledge, meaning now over 143,000 employees now work for organizations that supporting cancer screening attendance. So I think from this program, it shows how partnership between employers, including private sector and community organization, can improve public health together.
Yeah.
So it's important that VCFSE organization make use of the wider support infrastructure around them as well. Local CVS's organization, regional organization like ourselves, and the national bodies such as NCVO provide guidance, network, practical support to strengthen your governance and sustainability. And now the civil society covenant sets the value, but the key is ensuring that they are upheld in practice, including having clear escalation routes and mechanisms to address breaches. So I think when partnership work well, and often that begin as a single small project, can become a long-term bigger project and long-term relationship, strengthening both the private sector organization and the community they serve. And I think this will be a long-term planning and long-term vision to go.
Okay, well, great. Great example and great ending to this session, because we have now, Rick coming to say that, okay, your time is up, and I will also go to the backstage because we have fantastic Alex Hayes talking about more of like a philanthropic funding